Hello, I'm Robert Day.
Hi, and I'm Larry Linehelzer. Welcome to the first edition of Lifelines, a show dedicated to your safety, health, and wellness.
That's right, Larry. And with our background in safety, we hope to give you an inside track as to our viewers how they can get the resources they need for health, wellness, and safety right here on the Sun Coast.
Great. As you know, February is Heart Month. With that in mind, we're going to have two segments. One's going to be with an EMS system where we're going to use Rob as a guinea pig and take a picture of Rob's heart with some of the latest technology EMS has. We're also going to have Marilyn Ingold, who's going to be our guest from the Community Training Center, who's going to give us some information regarding education and training that her service provides to the community.
That's right. And also in February is Hazardous Weather Awareness Week. We'll be talking to some of the experts up at the National Weather Service, Dan Noah and his crew with NOAA, NOAA as in the Ark and NOAA as in the government agency that runs the National Weather Service, to find out how they can use the latest technology to keep us abreast of any hazardous weather headed our way here in Florida.
This is a new show, and we're looking forward to you watching it. We hope to have some informative and useful information for you. It's going to be a different tack than perhaps some of the other shows you've seen, but we're hoping that you will join us. So stay with us and welcome again to the first edition of Lifelines. Welcome back. Joining us now is Marilyn Ingold. She is the coordinator for the Community Training Center affiliated with the American Heart Association. Welcome to the show, Marilyn.
Thank you, Larry. It's nice to be here.
Great. Listen, you provide a very important service to the community, and I'm not quite sure the community really knows why you're there or if you're there. Can you give us an overview of exactly what you do?
Our training center, we do a lot of things. We train the instructors that go out into the community and train paramedics, EMTs, nurses. We have under our training center the two hospitals affiliated here in Manatee County, Blake and Manatee Memorial. And we teach classes to the lay public also. We do a lot of classes for CNAs, for people who are interested in learning life-saving techniques for their family members. And recently we trained 150 children at Gene Witt Elementary School.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
The earlier you can get them started, the better, I'm sure.
And that's exactly what we were thinking, and we've had a lot of cooperation from the Manatee County School Board, and we're hoping that we can do more classes in the future.
Good. Is CPR your primary focus?
No, it is our main focus, but we also focus on safety. We do first aid classes, we do child care and babysitting classes for the community, but it mainly is CPR. And there are a lot of types of different CPR. It can be geared towards healthcare workers or lay people or non-licensed personnel. And we also do CPR in schools. That's a new program that came out recently.
Great. I know that heart disease affects millions of people, and can you give us some figures of exactly how staggering those numbers are?
Well, 1.5 million people will suffer a heart attack yearly. Of those, 225,000 people will suffer sudden cardiac arrest and die. If CPR can be instituted within the first 4 to 6 minutes, there's a greater chance of survival. If a defibrillator is used, those chances increase. And the reason for that being, they found that the most common cause of cardiac arrest or sudden death is ventricular fibrillation, and the only treatment for that is defibrillation. And that's why we have a big push on now for the automated external defibrillators to be used in the communities. And there are a lot of businesses that are buying them, and we do the training for that.
Can you just expound a little bit on ventricular fibrillation? That's a big word, and I'm not sure most of our audience knows what that is.
Well, if I can be a little graphic, the heart normally pumps like this, okay? When a person goes into ventricular fibrillation, the heart does this. It just quivers, which means that they're not producing a blood flow or oxygen, and they can suffer brain damage or death.
So basically, the quicker you can get shock to the heart, the better the chance of survival.
That's exactly correct. And also, doing CPR in the meantime can increase that survival time until the AED arrives.
Getting back for a second to what you talked about the school system, you did 150 kids, which is great. What's your goal? What's your long-term rationale behind that?
Oh, my long-term goal personally is to have every 8th grader in Manatee County go through CPR training.
Great.
And a lot of the high schools have medical programs. They can then go on to that if they want. But, you know, in 10 years, if we do this, you can imagine that every child who's gone through it in 8th grade, by the time 10 years have passed, we're going to have an awful lot of people out there who've at least had CPR training once in their life.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Seattle have a program like that years ago where they tried to get everybody in Seattle, Washington, as many people as they could to know CPR? So it was, quote, the safest place to have a heart attack in the United States at one point. It was billed as the safest place to have a heart attack in the United States.
You may be right, I'm not sure, but it sounds good, and I'm hoping Manatee County can be the safest place to have a heart attack.
Speaking of that, for our listeners out there who may not have cardiac problems yet, but may be coming of age or risk factors, can you give me some crucial signs and symptoms that they would want to look out for and activate, either dialing 911 or whatever?
Well, you know, that's good that you brought that up, because the biggest thing is people deny. They'll have chest pain, shortness of breath, and they'll say, well, it's indigestion. I'm not having a heart attack, because nobody wants to think that way. But chest pain, shortness of breath, jaw pain, back pain, neck pain, and also stroke. It's not just heart attack, because the American Heart Association now is focusing on stroke, because that can also cause sudden death. And the symptoms of that would be visual problems, numbness on one side or the other, difficulty walking, difficulty speaking. Those are the signs and symptoms. Risk factors are age, heredity, smoking. Getting an annual checkup is important for prevention, and that's another thing. Prevention is crucial.
I assume that would be the key. So if our audience wanted to contact you for training or information, what numbers would they use to contact you? How can they reach you?
Okay, they can call 752-8100, extension 246, and that is a direct line to the Community Training Center at MTI East Campus.
Marilyn, I want to thank you very much for joining us and sharing your information with us. I wish you great success in your school program. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you, and good luck with your program, and I'm honored to be your first guest.
Thank you. We'll be right back, so stick with us for another segment of Lifelines. Hello, welcome back to Lifelines. My name is Larry Linehauser. Today, we're going to look at a segment, since it's Heart Month in February, on what EMS has as far as diagnostic tools. EMS, of course, being Emergency Medical Services. Joining me today is Lieutenant Ron Coper and Lieutenant Ron Rich from Manatee County EMS. Good day, gentlemen.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Larry.
Suppose you or a loved one should begin to experience signs or symptoms of a heart attack. After you call 911, EMS arrives, fire rescue arrives, and they begin to pull out some unique pieces of equipment. Today, the lieutenants are going to describe for us the LP12. Let's look at some of the diagnostic tools that emergency medical services use in an emergency cardiac situation. Welcome back. Now we're in the back of an EMS unit, and Lieutenants Coper and Lieutenants Rich are going to demonstrate the proper use of their LP12, the very special piece of equipment that diagnoses the heart problems. Lieutenant Coper, can you lead us on?
Thank you, Larry. After our initial evaluation of the patient, it may be determined that we need to get a closer look at what's going on in their heart, the actual heart rhythm. So Lieutenant Rich is going to apply some preliminary cables that will get just a basic look of the heart, what's going on. If it's determined that further exam is needed, we can put on additional precordial leads that will take a closer look at the heart. It'll look at a 360-degree view electrically of what's going on.
And those leads you're talking about, do they go in different places? You said precordial?
Yeah, precordial leads are the ones that go across the trunk and they actually wrap around the heart. The limb leads are the ones that we just get a very basic view of what's going on. Those go on your arms and your legs.
And we have chosen Rob the Bod Day to be our guinea pig with this experiment. It won't cause any pain to me, and hopefully Rob won't experience any as well. If he begins to vibrate or shake, we'll get advice from the lieutenants here on what to do.
I hope so.
Rod, you want to walk us through it, please?
Sure. I'm going to have Ron take out the lead. So like I said, initially we want to get a very basic look at what's going on. So there's only 4 leads that we apply, 1 to either arm and 1 to either leg. This
I noticed these are all color-coded.
Yes, they're color-coded.
Easier.
It just makes it easier for the paramedic. They can immediately know which color to put on which arm and leg. So Ron will apply these leads. The very basic and the most common picture to look at in the heart is lead 2, and it gives us the quickest look at what's going on. If something appears to be abnormal about lead 2 reading, then we would take a closer look with the 12 lead or precordial leads.
Ron, how has things changed over the years, like as opposed to what you have now, say 5 years ago or 6 years ago, in terms of this type of equipment?
Things have changed drastically. Just within our service, we've gone through 3 different monitors since I've been here in the last 10 years. And the earlier monitors could take those basic looks at the heart. They could see a certain amount of information electrically. This LP12 is the latest, greatest state-of-the-art monitor. It will do those basic lead views. It'll do 12 lead views, which are more comprehensive, 360-degree looks at what's going on. And then this will pace a patient. It will defibrillate a patient. Just a whole lot of different things we can do besides the basic picture of the heart.
So this is pretty similar to what you have in the emergency room?
This is the exact same thing that they use in the emergency rooms currently.
So he's going to take these pads and he's going to go ahead and put them on?
Yeah, go ahead and put those on, Ron. This is
It's real sticky.
it's a fairly painless procedure. The only real pain you get out of this is pulling those stickers off, kind of like taking a Band-Aid off.
And you said fairly painless?
Yeah, if there's nothing invasive that needs to be done with this this piece of equipment, it's really only looking at what's going on.
I was just checking.
Just think of the hair you're going to lose on this one.
That's right.
So it pays not to be hairy, I guess.
Absolutely, and if you are too hairy, we have razors for that. We may need to remove a little bit.
You know, my Sasquatch legs here.
So tell me, what advantage is it to the paramedic to be able to get a 360-degree picture of the heart? Is it just for information or what?
What happened recently is that we're getting more and more invasive in our cardiac care or treatment of heart attack patients. We're really doing everything that needs to be done in the first 10 minutes of somebody having a heart attack, and we can relay a lot of information onto the doctor in the emergency room so that they're prepared to take over once we get there.
I had heard you mention earlier the term cardiac alert. Can you give me a brief description of what that means to EMS?
That's a new protocol of ours that basically when somebody is evaluated and it's determined that they are having some kind of heart-related or cardiac issue, if it's a potential heart attack, we want to alert the emergency room as early as possible. We want to get to the patient to the emergency room as quickly as possible in case certain drugs need to be used for treating a heart attack.
Lieutenant Rich, you just held up his EKG. Can you show it us again and tell us, is he going to live, basically?
Yeah, so this is what we'd expect to see when a healthy young man like Rod Bod. That's a normal sinus rhythm, and that's what generally looks like.
Is it what? There's 3 different lines. What
Yes,
is those
different
references?
leads. There's 3 leads here. Actually, 4 leads.
As we said before, those basic views of the heart, a view of the heart or a direction that the monitor is looking at your heart is called a lead. So there's 3 different leads or 3 different views that we can look at.
So it's almost like different angles through the body.
Exactly.
So to speak? Okay.
Through those cables, it's looking at different angles that the electrical.
The most common one we use here is called the lead 2. When we just do the basic look.
Okay.
Now, suppose something on that looks suspicious to you as a paramedic. What's your next step?
There are certain changes when somebody's heart is undergoing some kind of stress, whether it be heart attack or just lack of oxygen. So those little changes will show up in the electrical activity of the heart. If we notice certain changes like that, it may or may not mean anything, but it's a reason for us to take a closer look at some different angles of the heart, and if we see more changes on those other views, that gives us a little more clue that a heart attack could be happening.
Can you share with us a couple key points you'd like the public to know if they may be experiencing cardiac problems?
Sure. One of the most important things is don't overlook any kind of chest pain or shortness of breath, any kind of a discomfort that's out of the ordinary for you. It's better for you to call 911 and have us come out and evaluate the problem, and we can give you some further information. Dealing with chest pain or shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting that's not related to a flu or a cold type thing. Those are all early indicators that you could be having heart problems.
Okay. Rob, the bod, how's it feel, buddy?
So far, so good. I don't know how it'll feel once these things get ripped off my arm, but this is good. Anybody could do this.
Well, we're going to cut away before we rip the leads off, so
Okay,
the
good.
audience at home won't hear you scream, but
Appreciate
we
it.
appreciate your participation. And we want to thank Lieutenant Coper and Lieutenant Rich for showing us some of the great diagnostic tools that they have at their disposal now. It's changed the context of the way EMS does business, and the winners in it are the citizens of the community. Thanks for joining us on this segment, and we'll be right back at Lifeline.
Welcome back to Lifelines. I'm Robert Day. Daniel Noah, who's the warning coordination meteorologist for the National Weather Service in Ruskin, Florida, was kind enough to invite us here to take a look at the National Weather Service offices. And with me is Charlie Paxton, who's the Science and Operations Officer. Now, first of all, let me get this out of the way. How many times have you heard the Spock joke since you're the science officer?
About every day.
Okay, all right, just want to get that out. Charlie, could you tell us a little bit about what you do here as the science officer and operations officer?
Sure. As a science and operations officer, I do about 1/3 research, 1/3 computer programming, and
Oh, wow. Okay.
and 1/3 forecasting. And let's see, we're not adding up here, and a third training too.
4/3.
Exactly. So
As busy as
yeah.
I've seen you all
So
here,
it's
that makes
research, training, computer programming, and
Okay.
forecasting.
I want to make sure we cover, because in February is Hazardous Weather Awareness Week, and I want to make sure that we cover those topics. Now, there's, as I understand it, 5 different days that
Yes.
covered, and you have a guide here, right? That's for
Certainly.
this year? Okay,
Yeah, and this is this year's guide.
good. Lightning would be Monday, right? And this is a 5-day week as far as Hazardous Weather Awareness Week. Lightning, hurricanes and flooding, tornadoes and thunderstorms, marine hazards, and then temperature extremes in Florida and wildfires. Maybe we just kind of take these one by one. I know Tampa, I think as far as the Western Hemisphere, correct me if I'm wrong since you're the expert, is the lightning capital.
Yes.
Is that true? And
Yes, it's the lightning capital of the United States.
Oh, the United States. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then, so as far as what we can do here, I mean, obviously we want to listen to our forecasters and keep abreast. But is there anything that we should know about other than keeping informed that we should do?
Oh, with respect to lightning,
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah.
When the clouds start to darken during the summertime and it looks like it's about to rain, the best thing to do is go inside or stay in your automobile.
Right.
When you're inside something, you're much safer than being outside.
Outside.
Certainly, don't go under a tree when it's raining. Stay away from tall metal objects.
Yeah.
Even near cars, outside of cars, that's a dangerous place to be because oftentimes cars are struck because they're a
Alright.
large metal object. So
Yeah.
inside the car is good, outside the car during
Bad.
a lightning storm is not good.
So inside good, outside bad.
Yeah.
As far as hurricanes and flooding, I know at least where I'm used to being, and that's in Manatee County, flooding is our #1 hazard down there. Any tips on, particularly people driving, anything they should
Well,
do or not do?
certainly when the rain begins, there's certainly more traffic accidents, so it's best to slow down, certainly when it's raining. And related to hurricanes and flooding, hurricanes over the past many years have really caused very few deaths, but the rain that the hurricanes have caused, or the rain from the hurricanes, have caused more deaths than any other weather
'Cause we always think
phenomenon
about
in
the
the
wind
United States.
instead of
Exactly.
flood. Okay.
Exactly.
Good
But people have gotten fairly good warnings for hurricanes and have been able to get out of the way and get to safer areas.
Right.
But people don't necessarily account for all the rain that comes with a hurricane. And in areas, especially outside of Florida, where there's a little bit of terrain, flash flooding occurs and people drown.
Drown. Because I'd heard lately, or the past several decades or years anyway, as far as particularly with hurricanes, instead of the storm surge, which they're gotten the word out as far as people avoiding that, but it's the actual freshwater flooding that now presents a big danger.
And I don't want to minimize the threat from a hurricane moving on shore. We just haven't had that many. Certainly when the next big one comes along, everybody needs to heed those warnings and take them very seriously.
And if you're told to leave, then leave.
Exactly.
One thing that we don't have as much warning on is the hurricane, which would be several days potentially as far as warning, but the tornadoes and thunderstorms that we get, I know particularly the Tampa Bay region, I don't know if it's because of the water or what, but there seems to be a lot of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms.
Interestingly enough, the Tampa Bay area has more tornadoes than any other part of the country.
Wow.
Now, you've heard about Tornado Alley. Well, exactly. But Tornado Alley, that area through North Texas, Oklahoma, and a little bit northward, they have more strong tornadoes.
Is that we hear about the F4s
we don't get,
and F5s?
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
we don't get that many strong tornadoes. That's where the strong tornadoes typically occur. We get more number-wise, but they're generally weak.
That's what we hear.
So,
what is it? It starts at F0, I think.
F0.
Fujita scale and works up.
Yeah, and an F0 tornado has winds up to around 75 miles per hour.
So Toto, we're not in Tampa anymore. That's what we're saying. Okay, because I didn't know there were that many.
Yeah,
here.
And the stronger tornadoes in Florida will generally occur during the winter time. So and typically during an El Nino type winter.
Okay, and that's kind of what we're having
now?
Okay.
Yeah, we're in a phase of El Nino. It's not quite as strong as the last one during 1997, but our peak time of the year for tornadoes is during the summer, but our peak time for tornado deaths in Florida is during the winter. So we get the stronger, more deadly tornadoes.
Plus that's when all the snowbirds are down too.
Yeah, exactly.
So that increases our population, and a lot of those folks, I imagine, are in the manufactured homes and mobile home park kind of things.
Yeah, that was a big problem during 1998. During February, 42 people were killed because of strong tornadoes going through structures that weren't that strong.
That strong. Yeah, that's true. Then Thursday, we have marine hazards, which I get, what would that be? Probably the rip currents? Or
Well, rip currents aren't as big a problem on the Gulf Coast as they are on the East Coast.
On the East Coast.
Typically, rip currents are develop when waves are moving onshore and there's some stronger onshore wind component. We don't have that situation much around here. It's certainly, I don't want to minimize the risk though. If people go out in the water, they should know how to swim. And if caught in a rip current, the best thing to do is either let the rip current take you out, will eventually stop, or swim perpendicular to shore because the rip current is moving out away from shore. So if you swim perpendicular, you'll swim
eventually
out of the rip
get
current.
out of it, and then you can make your way back in.
Yeah.
So I noticed on some of the warnings that in products that you all put out, some of the text says, swimmers should heed or beachgoers should heed the warnings of lifeguards, and I assume that means that.
Oh, certainly.
You all up here have detected some sort of weather that would relate to the rip currents and have given them the heads up on
anytime that we get a strong onshore wind, that's certainly a problem. We don't get the strong onshore winds and the large waves that often. We had a couple cases this past year related to the tropical systems, though, and certainly a potentially deadly situation out there.
Now, finally on Friday, is temperature extremes in Florida wildfires. Now, right now, as a matter of fact, we're expecting the coldest weekend of the season so far.
So far.
And people don't think much about hypothermia and freezing in Florida, but I heard somewhere that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Florida, as far as hypothermia cases, is the biggest state for reporting those, because people aren't prepared.
Well, as a matter of fact, we've had a couple cases recently, a couple of people that were on a jet ski or wave runner that went out in the Gulf. The jet ski quit working. They were stuck out there and died of hypothermia overnight. The water temperatures are cold out there right now, in the low to mid 50s. So that's certainly a factor over the Gulf.
Wow.
And can be on land areas too for people that are homeless or have inadequate heating in their houses.
What we'll do next is take a look at some of the equipment that you have to get out these reports, and there's some of it here. This looks more like a low-tech, high-tech kind of thing. Could you just give us a brief description of this?
This is something that we've been using for a long time, and it's still a fundamental part of our data collection. We start out with a rather large balloon here, and this is filled with hydrogen out in our inflation shelter, well away from this building. And the balloon gets to be about 6 feet in diameter or so. And it's tied off. There's a parachute that's tied on to the balloon with some string. And at the end of the parachute, there's another long piece of string. And this instrument, it's called a radio sonde. And it sends back a radio signal to an antenna in the inflation shelter. So in that dome, there's an antenna that tracks this. And this is the antenna on the radio sonde. There's a little circuit board and a little transmitter in here. There's also a barometer cell in here that responds to pressure as this ascends with the balloon.
So then you can take this data and merge that with the satellite data and then become a big picture of the weather.
Exactly.
Well, let's take a look at some of the high-tech equipment you have available to you, and then we'll see how that fits in with all this.
Okay.
Good. We'll be right back. Charlie and I have walked over here to the operations area, and as I understand it, there's a new way that the meteorologists produce forecasts.
That's correct. First of all, the forecaster will assess the state of the atmosphere and then take a look at computer models and the results from those, and then apply that knowledge to a graphical forecast. And this is relatively new. The
How did
forecaster,
they used to do it? Was it just
well, it was taking
in?
a look at the models and assessing the atmosphere and then typing the
typing.
forecast
This way
in.
they can just point, click, and
exactly,
ship. Okay.
and draw lines on this forecast map, and these images end up on our web page as a graphical forecast. So you know the old saying, one picture is worth 1,000 words.
And I have been to your website, and it's, I know at NOAA.gov, then they can search for TBW or Tampa Bay weather, and they'll come up with the link for your site, and it's a good site.
Yeah. The easiest way to get to our web page is weather.gov, and then click on the Tampa Bay area, and you'll get our web page.
Great. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Charlie, talking with us, and we look forward to joining you again, hopefully real soon.
Good.
And that's it for Charlie and myself. Thank you for joining us here at the National Weather Service in Ruskin, Florida. I found that interesting. I hope you did too. On next month's segment of Lifelines, we'll be talking to the Manatee Search and Rescue Team. No, they don't rescue manatees. Actually, they probably would if they had to, but they are a wilderness and interface search and rescue team that operate out of Manatee County, Florida, and we'll be talking to them. And what are you going to be working on, Larry?
Next week, next edition, we're going to be working on medevac choppers, what they do, who they are, how they're trained, and how they help us in our Southwest Florida save lives. We're going to take a look at some helicopters and the personnel who work on them. Until next time, remember, safety is your lifeline.
For questions or story ideas for Larry and Rob, you can send an email to lifelinestv@aol.com.